Good morning, Kuhner country. Okay, my friends, as I said to Grace on our way back from the Bahamas, we had a wonderful trip last week. It was our 30th anniversary trip. We took the kids with us and had a wonderful time. We were in Atlantis, Paradise Island. The kids, I don't think they ever had a better vacation. And obviously the Kuhner man, even when I'm on vacation, I'm working. And I've been following current events. I was reading. And on the way back, this is exactly what I told Grace on that Southwest flight from the Bahamas. I said, you know, he's got a mole in the Secret Service. I think now there's no question. There's no question. Once, okay, maybe it's just due to incompetence. Twice, and now a third time? No, I'm sorry. But there is someone or a cabal. I don't quite have, I don't quite know yet exactly. But this needs to be tracked down. It needs to be discovered, and it needs to be rooted out, because there is now no question. In Butler, Pennsylvania, he came within a millimeter of being murdered. The bullet hit his ear. He is very lucky it didn't hit his brain. And then at his golf course in Florida, again, a breach of the Secret Service, where shots were fired at then candidate Trump as he was playing a round of golf. And had someone not noticed him in the bushes, the shooter, Ryan Luth, God knows the president could be dead. And now a third time? No. I'm sorry. If no one else has the guts to say it, I'm going to say it. This is not, we have to review security protocol as the media has been claiming all weekend. This has nothing to do now with, is there incompetence at the highest levels of the Secret Service? There is, to me, clearly a breach within the Secret Service itself, and there is a mole or several moles, a cabal, but clearly the president now is in danger. And I think there's no question anymore after what happened this weekend. So let me tell you exactly the latest, and then I want to go to the phone lines. 617-266-6868 is the number. President Trump was going to attend, in fact, did attend, the White House Correspondents Association dinner. He had avoided it his entire first term. It is where the media usually gang up on a Republican president, send out a comedian, and they humiliate and attack and roast him. Trump wanted none of that. However, he said he wanted to call a truce with the press corps, celebrate, in his words, the Constitution, and in particular the First Amendment and freedom of speech. And so he agreed to a night whereby there was going to be an entertainer, in this case a mentalist, Oz Perlman, and Melania was there. And what is truly frightening is that 5 of the 6 figures in the line of presidential succession were there. J.D. Vance was there. House Speaker Mike Johnson was there. Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, was there. Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War/Defense, was there. By the way, also, almost every other leading member of his cabinet, including, for example, HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. In other words, had somebody breached the perimeter and gotten into that ballroom and unleashed a massacre, it would have decapitated our entire government. We would be in a full-blown constitutional political crisis. It was the political who's who were there at the Washington Hilton Hotel, which annually hosts this Washington Correspondents' Dinner. Just so that you know, I have been to it many times when I was at the Washington Times. It's a very glamorous black tie affair with a lot of very self-important people. And the food, I ate better in the Bahamas. Okay, let's put it this way. But anyway, it's there for powerful people to schmooze, to mingle, to look important, to act important. Trump was there. He was going to have fun. He was going to take a couple of pot shots at the media. He was also there to celebrate the First Amendment and freedom of speech. And as Trump put it, it is the hottest ticket in town. Now, from all of the media reports that have now come out, the Secret Service was focused on the outer perimeter of the Washington Hilton Hotel. Apparently, there was an army. They had the National Guard. They had Secret Service. They had the Washington Police Department. Everybody was focused on the protesters that were gathering outside. And, of course, the attendees that were slowly trickling in as the night went on. What they forgot, or they say that they forgot, what about somebody who registered in the hotel the night before the event? To me, this is a stunning lapse in judgment. It's frankly borderline criminal. And so, a 31-year-old radical leftist, and make no mistake about it, the attempted assassin, as he calls himself in his own manifesto, the friendly federal assassin, Cole Allen, voted for Kamala Harris, donated to Act Blue, participated in No Kings marches or No Kings rallies. He is a die-hard left-wing anti-Trumper. In fact, he spewed anti-Trump Democratic Party talking points in his manifesto. It could have been written by anyone that watches CNN or MS Now or anybody who reads the New York Times or the Washington Post or, frankly, from the DNC. The reason he gave for why he came in there, not just to assassinate and murder Trump, but as he openly admits, to murder J.D. Vance, to murder Marco Rubio, to murder Pete Hegseth, to murder House Speaker Mike Johnson, to murder everybody in the administration and the cabinet that was there, was because we are living now under an oppressive tyranny. That President Trump, according to Cole Allen, this is not Job, is, quote, a pedophile, a rapist, and a traitor. And that is literally what the Democrats and the media repeat again and again and again. They're false. They're idiotic. They're as far from reality as you can possibly get, but it's obvious. You keep repeating a lie often enough, it becomes accepted as truth. And so this mentally unstable man now believed he had a mission from God. He was a 21st century Bonhoeffer, that he had a mission as a Christian to cleanse the United States and the world of this evil Hitlerite regime. And so he took a train from Los Angeles to Chicago, from Chicago to Washington. He then books a room at the Washington Hilton Hotel where the event is now set to be held the next day. He comes in on Friday. He even writes in his manifesto, I can't believe how lax the security is here. I have a shotgun. I have a handgun loaded. I have multiple knives. There's no security cameras anywhere. I don't see security agents anywhere. They just let me walk in. He said the arrogance of the place is what he found stunning. And I checked into a room. I brought all this firepower with me. And nobody even bothered to check me. And then on Saturday night, as the president was on stage, as the entertainment began, with the first lady right beside him, with the vice president just 4 or 5 seats away, suddenly they heard boom, boom, boom. Cole Allen took his shotgun and he charged at one of the Secret Service security checkpoints. He shot a law enforcement officer right in the chest. Had that officer not had a bulletproof vest, that officer would be dead. By the grace of God, he is fine and he will survive. Pandemonium broke out inside the ballroom. The president, the first lady, the vice president, other cabinet members had to be whisked off stage. 617-266-6868. Okay, the Kuhner man is back from a much-needed vacation. In fact, it was our 30th anniversary. Grace and I married together, and we celebrated with the kids, obviously, in the Bahamas. So I was away all last week, but I was following current events quite closely. And, of course, I was following the shooting. I was horrified. I was disgusted. I was horrified. And what I told Grace, I didn't talk about it in front of the kids because they would be too disturbed. But I told Grace, they're not going to stop. They're not. I'm telling you, I'm sorry to say this, but if I'm not here to speak the truth, what is the point of me being behind this microphone? This audience, to your eternal credit, you called it. I don't know how many times you called into this show over the last year. How many people texted me? How many callers emailed me and said, Jeff, there's going to be another assassination attempt. As surely as the sun rises, some crazy radical leftist is going to try to pull a John F. Kennedy on Donald Trump. They're going to try to finish what they started in Butler and then later in Palm Beach in Florida at that golf course. And sure enough, again, they struck. They struck. And again, thank the Lord, the president and everybody around him is okay. But eventually, I'm sorry to say this, if you don't fix the president's security protocol and start firing people and start vetting people, then they're going to get him. I don't want him to get him. Obviously, I love the man. I think it would destroy the country. It's the one thing I fear above everything else is a successful assassination. I think the left is playing with serious fire. And I've been warning against this now for I don't know how long. But, you know, you can only dodge a bullet so many times. And I'm sorry, I'm not satisfied. I don't believe the answers from the media, and I don't believe the answers coming from the Secret Service bureaucracy. They can't be that incompetent. Nobody's that incompetent. And I want to know where or who the mole is. Period. Full stop. Now, very quickly. So the entertainment had already started. People were already eating their salads, nibbling on their bread. President Trump was obviously the main attraction. He's there at the table. The mentalist, the entertainer of the night, Oz Perlman, was already doing some tricks with the First Lady, Melania. So the correspondence dinner had officially began. And then they began to hear loud noises. Many thought, in fact, Trump himself said, I thought a tray had fallen. It just seemed like a tray had fallen with a lot of glass being shattered. But he said Melania knew right away. Melania knew right away, no, this was no ordinary tray. This was something even worse. And This is what they heard, because this was being watched on C-SPAN. Many of the networks, the cable TV networks, were covering it, and this is what people were hearing. So here is some sound of the gunshots ringing out while the band is playing, and people are starting to eat. And then when people begin to realize, oh my God, those are gunshots, and then the Secret Service exploded on stage. They just ran on stage, and they grabbed the president, 4, 5, 6 of them, and they surrounded him. And then others grabbed J.D. Vance and tried to whisk him in the opposite direction. And others were yelling, go down, go down, go down. And people started to jump underneath the tables and hide. And then you saw soldiers, National Guard soldiers, and police officers with, big guns and helmets come onto the stage. Everybody knew there was now an assassination attempt. Roll cut 10, Mike. You can hear him in the background, the Secret Service saying, get down, get down, get down. Okay, President Trump survives another assassination attempt. I want to ask all of you, 617-266-6868 is the number. The media is spinning the story that this is just incompetence by the Secret Service, that this explains Butler. This explains the second shooting at the golf course in Florida, and now this explains the correspondence dinner. Do you believe that? Do you believe that this is just simply now an incompetent Secret Service that, for whatever reason, is resistant to being reformed and changed and improved, or do you believe there is something more nefarious going on? That the president is being sabotaged from within the Secret Service. That's something, I'm not saying they were involved with this man. Cole Allen is his name, the would-be assassin. But there just seems to be these massive breaches, inexplicable breaches in security. And look, the most chilling part of the manifesto, and if you've read all of it, I have. In fact, I've read it several times. Is he openly says, he says this. He goes, can you imagine if I was working for the Iranians? We're in the middle of a war with Iran. He said, do you know how easy it was for me to get to the Washington Hilton? To just walk on in? He goes, I had a shotgun. I had a handgun. I had knives. I was armed to the teeth. And I got a room just the night before. No problem. Nobody checked me. Nobody vetted me. And I just walked in there. What if I had a bomb? He goes, if I was working for an Iranian secret intelligence, I could have blown up the entire White House Correspondents' Dinner. The president would be dead, the first lady, the vice president, the secretary of state, the secretary of defense. I could go on and on. Most of the cabinet, the Speaker of the House. We could have defeated the United States in one blow. Taken out almost the entire government. And who am I? He says this. Who am I? I'm this graduate from Caltech University. So I'm sorry. This is inexcusable. It's inexcusable. And I'm going to get to other comments that Trump made. By the way, I thought he was incredibly presidential afterwards, trying to unify the country. Obviously incredibly brave. He was unfazed. He actually wanted the event to continue. He's like, we can't let these people win. Let's go right back on stage. Let's go. Let's finish this thing. And he's telling everybody now, we're going to be back in 30 days. Trump is vowing, saying we will go back in 30 days. The same people, the same guests. We are going to make this happen. No one is going to silence us or intimidate us or bully us. So, Trump is fearless. The man has got the heart of a lion. But you got to ask yourself sometimes, maybe he's too courageous for his own good. Because if a guy like him, this Cole Allen, can just take a train, literally take a train to Washington, carrying firearms, armed to, as I said, armed to the teeth, and get a room the night before at the Washington Hilton, which is supposed to be the most protected area in the country, and, charge a Secret Service checkpoint where, thank the Lord, he didn't have grenades. Thank the Lord, he didn't have a homemade bomb. Thank the Lord, he didn't have explosives. Listen now to President Trump. This is at the press conference after the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and he describes the shooting from his perspective. Roll cut 6, Mike.
I heard a noise and sort of thought it was a tray. I thought it was a tray going down. I've heard that many times, and it was a pretty loud noise. And it was from quite far away. He hadn't breached the area at all. They really got him. But so it was quite far away, but it was a gun. And some people really understood that pretty quickly. Other people didn't. I was watching to see what was happening. Probably should have gone down even faster. Melania was very cognizant, I think, of what happened. I think she knew immediately what happened. She was saying, that's a bad noise.
Yeah, I see. Wives are so intuitive like that. They really are. And she's like, no, it's not a tray. Trust me. No, it's a gunshot. Donald, I'm telling you, it's a gunshot. So it's a third assassination attempt. They couldn't kill you in Butler. They couldn't kill you in Florida. They're going to try to kill you now. Now, let me just make one last point, and I want to go to the blazing phone lines. 617-266-6868 is the number. To a man and woman who attended the Correspondents' Dinner, doesn't matter, conservative, liberal, Republican, Democrat, everyone said they could not believe how lax the security was. That many of them came in off of the side streets. And these are the people that attended, the dinner in the ballroom, but even like the pre-dinner parties. The media, different outlets, they host these huge pre-dinner parties, post-dinner parties. So they're all in their tuxedos and gowns, and they're coming in off of these side streets. And they said they're walking in, and they said no one asked for any photo ID ever. There was never any kind of, when I went to the Bahamas and back, TSA screening. They check you, they pat you, none of that. He said literally all you had to do was show a ticket. A ticket. Here, I'm invited. Here's a ticket. And one person would just look and say, yeah, that looks real to me. Go on in. Or a copy of an invitation to either the dinner itself or one of the parties. Just a copy. They go, here. And they look, okay, and they let him in. To get into the ballroom, the actual ballroom, just a magnetometer. Okay, that's it. Like a little magnet machine. That's it. And you call that security? Now, these are hostile reporters to Trump. And they're one after another saying the security was pathetic. This is them saying, we couldn't believe. He says, we were commenting like they just practically let us in. Anybody could just walk in. And this is the point Cole Allen was making in his manifesto. In fact, he gives, I don't want to get into it too much, but he gives his reasons why. Okay, basically Trump equals Hitler. Okay, that's the reason. What the media and the Democrats have been spewing, he just is regurgitating. But then he says, I got to go on a rant here. Like that's exactly what he says. He says, I can't believe how bad the security is. He goes, it's supposed to be, the president, the most protected area in the world. And I walk in, I've got guns, I've got weapons, nobody checks me, I rent a room. So they're all preparing for people outside, but they're not preparing for somebody who comes the day before the event. How pathetic is that? I got a shotgun, I got a loaded gun, I've got knives, I'm walking around the hotel. I don't see security guards anywhere. I don't see cameras anywhere. I don't see security checkpoints anywhere. I'm just waltzing around the Washington Hilton. No, listen, they're not that incompetent. You may disagree with me. I'm just giving you my honest opinion. No way are they that incompetent. No way. Absolutely not. And so I think the question now is, are elements of the deep state, and that would include the Secret Service, determined to bring about the assassination of President Donald J. Trump? And my fear is, and I pray for him now on a regular basis, my fear is they don't want him to finish his term. And they're not going to stop until they get him. Now, let me just leave you with this, because we're going to go to break, and then I'm going to take all your calls, I promise. To show you how the climate of hatred, of Trump derangement syndrome, really of insanity, has gripped our country. When I was in the Bahamas, it's mostly American tourists. Okay, 90% American. Okay, this is now the third assassination attempt on President Trump, this time by the so-called, that's what he called himself, the friendly federal assassin Cole Allen, an admitted leftist, a Democrat, a rabid anti-Trumper, who said now that the crimes of Trump are so great he could not go on leading his life because he is now complicit in living under an oppressive tyranny, a fascist regime. And so he said he had to do his duty, which was to assassinate not only Trump, but take out J.D. Vance, the entire cabinet, and the entire line of succession. In other words, we are living in Hitler's Germany. And he did what Bonhoeffer tried to do, which is to bring down this Nazi regime. The man is a quack. The man is insane. But the man is also spewing Democrat talking points. That's the really dangerous aspect of all this. And so my question to you, does Trump now have a problem with his security? Are people within the security detail potentially looking to get him killed? And did the Democrats and the media, are they now driving people like Cole Allen to assassinate the president? I say yes. What say you? Mark in Medford. You're going to kick us off, Mark. Thanks for holding and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. Not so happy Monday.
Happy Monday, my friend.
All right. Well, Jeff, I might come off as a bad person on this call, but I don't mean it. But someone's got to say this. I am absolutely fed up. I've had enough. Those people that were ducking under tables last night, clutching the person next to them, not knowing whether they were a Democrat, a Republican, an independent, or what have you, a liberal, a conservative, okay? I have to ask them a couple of questions. First question, How does it feel? How does it feel knowing that you might not have walked out of there alive last night? And why? The very same people that were hiding under tables, Jeff, most of them in that room are the same people that provoke this bullcrap. Am I right or am I wrong? Number one.
You are 1,000% correct. The very same people, the CNNs, the MS Nows, NBC, CBS, ABC, Washington Post, New York Times, Associated Press, that's the who's who of the White House Correspondents' Dinner. They're the ones who peddle the lie day after day, night after night, that Trump is Hitler, Trump is a dictator, Trump is a pedophile, Trump is a rapist, Trump is a traitor. And now the Frankenstein's monster that they created, Cole Allen, came for them, potentially. Had he broken through, those journalists would be dead as well. So you are not just 100, you are 1,000% correct. They created this monster, just like Frankenstein created his monster. You're on a roll, Mark. Keep going, my friend.
A second question I want to ask those people. Are you done now? Are you satisfied? Or are you going to keep up with the lies and the hatred and the rhetoric and the provoking? Or are you done? Listen, I don't want to be funny here, but I look at Trump now as Obi-Wan Kenobi. If you kill this man, he is going to come back more powerful than you could possibly imagine, and that's going to be through us. They don't realize that, but we're on the tipping point, Jeff. I am on the tipping point, and that's why I'm sounding the way I'm sounding today. I'm not an a-hole, okay? I never was an a-hole, Jeff, but you know what? Maybe it's time we start acting like one.
Mark, thank you very much for that call. I don't think the left understands what they're playing with. They clearly don't. They just don't. Look, again, I don't want to repeat myself. I'm in the Bahamas. It's the Bahamas. You know, everyone's on vacation. Paradise Island. It's kids, families. It's one of the most beautiful places on earth. Expensive as hell, by the way. What a tourist trap. I mean, they clean out your bank account, let me tell you. But let that go, okay? And you got two moonbats right beside me. We're about to board a shuttle. And, of course, everybody's news feed begins to break. And they're like, oh, my God, assassination attempt. And you could tell they're from Massachusetts. They got the whole Boston baseball cap and, the Boston gear, Celtics jerseys. And they're looking at each other and, did they get him? Did they get him? And I'm looking at him. I didn't say anything, but I'm like, you people are sick. Like, you're sick. It's like a mind virus. It's like a rabid dog. Do you understand what's going to happen to this country if you succeed in assassinating him? Like, you think the problem, the Trump problem, as you call it, will go away? And to show you how dumb they are, and that's why last night was so dangerous, you assassinate Trump, what are you going to get? You're getting J.D. Vance. He's even more conservative. Like, that's how dumb these people are. But beyond that, forget it. I don't want to talk about a political point. What I'm saying is this. The level of hatred, and I can't tell you how many liberals I ran into in the Bahamas. And I'm telling you, they were down. Like, oh, our hopes were raised. We almost had him. Oh, he dodged a bullet again. There is a frenzy. There is a pathological hatred. There's an irrational virulence that is unbelievably dangerous. And let me tell you what Saturday also showed. They're not happy with just taking out Trump. They want JD gone. They want Rubio gone. They want Hegseth gone. They want Robert F. Kennedy Jr. gone. In other words, they don't just want to take out Trump. They want to assassinate and murder the leading lights of his entire administration. And just to put a final point on this, the Democrats now have come out. This is unprecedented. And they have said, we win in November. We're not just impeaching Trump. Oh, no, 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 no. We're going to impeach J.D. Vance. We're going to impeach his entire cabinet. Everybody that works in the Trump administration is going to be impeached. We're just going to impeach and impeach and impeach and impeach until the whole government is paralyzed and shut down. That's the level of fanaticism and the level of hatred that they have for this man. And look, I was just in the Bahamas, surrounded by moonbats. Okay? I am telling you, I'm warning all of you. Please, you have to listen to me. They are going to crawl on broken glass to vote against Trump in November. For us, it's an off-year election. It's a midterm election because Trump technically is not on the ballot. For them, they want to kill him. They want to take back the House. They want to take back the Senate. They don't just want to impeach him and paralyze him and ruin his presidency. They want to drive him from office. They want to bankrupt him and his family. They want to send him in behind bars for 1,000 years. And if they could hang him, I'm telling you, they're going to hang him. They want blood. And they now are sensing blood. And you mark my words. Here, I'll pay you the cut. I'll play you the cut. Even Van Jones, the former communist Van Jones, CNN, is saying openly, they're going to turn Cole Allen into a hero. The Democrats and the left, you don't understand. Like with Luigi Mangione. You know, he shot an unknown businessman, a health insurance CEO, shot him right in the back, killed him. He's a hero. They hail him as I'm not kidding, as a martyr. They love the guy. We have to ask, I am telling you right now, I fear that Cole Allen, because this is going to be tried in the District of Columbia. This is going to be tried in Washington, D.C., in front of a very partisan Democratic jury. I don't think they're going to find him guilty. In fact, not only will they not find him guilty, I think they're all going to carry him out on their shoulders. Like they would for Luigi Mangione. Ah, yeah, the only thing your only mistake, Cole, you should have killed him. I'm telling you, I don't believe you can get a conviction against Cole Allen in the District of Columbia. Because now he's seen by the left as a freaking hero. Listen now. This is Van Jones on the White House correspondent shooter, the wannabe assassin. Says, I got to tell you the truth. My people, meaning the left, we're going to turn this guy into a hero. Roll cut 25. Mike.
There is a danger that people try to make him some sort of hero. You watch what happened with Luigi, who shot a CEO to death and somehow became a hero. So tonight you saw the worst of America, you saw the best of America. Tonight you definitely saw the best of America. I hope on Monday we don't see the worst again. I just want to say very clearly, this kind of despicable behavior has no place in America. It has no place on the right. It has no place on the left. We don't know if he was there because he wanted to hurt Democrats or Republicans. Both were there. We don't know if he wanted to hurt journalists or politicians. Both were there. This kind of behavior has no place in America. And it's wrong. Violence is not the way to resolve any grievances. And this cheerleader culture for violence, for people who think that the answer to our problems is to go shooting billionaires or going to synagogues or all these different things, has to be called out immediately.
Yeah, well, he wasn't there for the journalists, and he wasn't there for the Democrats. The manifesto was crystal clear. He was there for Trump and the cabinet. So this was an act of anti-Trump, left-wing, radical left-wing terrorism. That's what this was. And he's right. He's now going to... There's a culture now on the left, cheerleaders for violence. And like Mangione now is a saint on the left, this guy is now going to become a martyr, a hero, and a saint. And listen, I got to play this cut. This was on Friday. This is Jimmy Kimmel, that scumbag on ABC News. This is how sick they are. This is supposedly a late-night comedian that ABC continues to allow to be on the air, who has called for Trump to be killed and assassinated. Okay? And they still have him on the air. Listen to what he said. This is 24 hours before the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Listen now. This is what passes for quote-unquote humor on the left. This is what Democrats watch to unwind at night. Listen to this. Roll cut 27. Mike.
Our First Lady Melania is here. Look at Melania. So beautiful. Mrs. Trump, you have a glow like an expectant widow.
Okay. He was like doing his like shtick, like if I was at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, what would I say? And it's like, look at the picture of her. It was on a Friday. Okay, the event took place on a Saturday, the following day. It's like, in other words, someone's going to kill your husband. Oh, and you're so happy that somebody's going to assassinate your husband. Yeah. These people are sick. This is not going to end. This is not going to end. They're going to continue and continue and continue. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. Rich in Weston. Thanks for holding, Rich, and welcome. Rich? All right, let's see if we can reconnect with Rich. Maestro Mike, who do you want me to go to next? Joe in Abington. Thanks for holding, Joe, and welcome.
Yes, Jeff. I remember a couple of weeks ago there was a report, and this is very pertinent to what we're talking about. Don't get turned off like I'm trying to change the subject. In the Iran war talks, it somehow came up, Trump is going to Pakistan. I'm like, they're going to try to kill him there.
Oh, I'm with you. Joe, I'm with you. I think that's why I didn't want him to go to Pakistan. And I was very nervous for J.D. Vance when he went. And it's obvious now. I mean, look, the radical left and radical Islam have formed an alliance, an unholy alliance, an evil alliance. And they are united in their hatred for the United States, for our Constitution, and above all for President Trump. And look, he's got to be president. You can't let them win. You can't let them intimidate you. But look, I'll be brutally honest with all of you here. I wish Grace would, I told this to Grace because we were talking about it. This was days before. She said, hey, how do you feel about Trump going to the Correspondents' Dinner? I said, I don't like it. She said, really? Why? Because she thought, hey, it'll showcase his humor. The country will be watching. He'll be defending freedom of speech, the Constitution. He can take some jabs at the media. It'll really give him a chance to, showcase some of his charisma and personality. I said, he's surrounded by mortal enemies. That entire press corps wants to destroy him and his family. That's all they've done for nearly 10 years. Why would you even go there? I said, I said this to her. I said, I don't trust the security. I don't trust he'll be safe. And the long knives are out. Almost anything he says, they're going to twist and distort against him. So why even give him that kind of legitimacy? You know, they're the fake news media. So why would you even want to have anything to do with the fake news media? I said, but the bigger issue is, forget whether he goes or doesn't go, I don't trust the security. It's like, you know, it's like a king, and you literally go to your rival's castle, and all the aristocrats that want to stab you and take your crown are all there at the dinner. And I'm looking around, and I'm like, you sure we got enough people protecting me? Because I think someone's going to go for a bow and arrow or a knife or poison my food or whatever. You know, it's sort of like a Game of Thrones. And lo and behold, to me, the symbolism is so rich. The very media that hates him, loathes him, lies about him, and wants to destroy him and kill him is the very place that led to this assassination attempt by a man that they essentially created. And they had to duck underneath the tables because they realized he may be shooting at us as well. I mean, just think about what happened on Saturday on every single level. Now, I know they haven't changed because I'm going to play you the interview that he did with Norah O'Donnell on 60 Minutes. And this was right after this incident. You think she was chastened? You think she said, whoa, we've gone a little bit too far? No. She literally read Cole Allen's manifesto to Trump's face, saying, you know, he called you a pedophile, a rapist, and a traitor. What do you say to that? And Trump was stunned. I mean, stunned. He goes, he just tried to kill me, for God's, and you. And you want to repeat these slanders and defamations because you want to get it out on the air again, implying, you know, he called you a pedophile, called you a rapist, said you're a traitor. What's your answer to that? In other words, you are a pedophile, and you are a rapist, and you are a traitor. And he was so mad, and he had every right to, he was furious. Trump was practically spitting when he was, yelling back at her or shouting back at her. Like, just an utter disbelief. Like, what is wrong with you? God forbid, and I hope this never happens, for so many reasons. One of them, he's a human being. Another one, I think he's one of the greatest presidents we've ever had. But even more than that, because I think it would damage our country irreparably. Irreparably. And maybe even trigger a civil war. God forbid. But mark my words. If an assassin's bullet does eventually take down the president, you can hold me to this. Okay? I will stake my career on this. They will dance. Liberals will dance. They will celebrate. They will pop champagne corks. And the media, they will be dancing on their desks, cheering like it's Mardi Gras or like it's New Year's Eve. That's the bloodlust. That's the fanaticism. That's the hatred that now they have unleashed, and now not just unleashed, but now like a vortex is swallowing them all in. This should be the mother of all wake-up calls. Lines are loaded. Bruce in Woburn. Thanks for holding, Bruce, and welcome. Oh, he certainly was a hardcore moonbat. No question about it, Bruce. The more that comes out about this guy, ay, 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 ay. He was a moonbat's moonbat, that's for sure. Bruce, let me ask you, President Trump says he wants to do the White House Correspondents' Dinner again in the next 30 days, have a redo, as he put it. Should the president do it, or do you think it's going to be too risky and leave him too exposed to a potential second assassin?
Jeff, are you kidding me? They're going to try to get him, but my big thing is, how the heck, besides him getting in the hotel without being vetted, how did he get all the way from California on a train with all those weapons, Jeff? And then to Chicago and then to D.C.? How did he get away with that?
That's a great question.
He broke all those laws, and they're gonna treat him like a hero, like you said. These people are sick in the head. If that was Obama or if that was Biden, the world would be coming apart. They should have shot that guy. He should have got killed right there when he shot at that Secret Service guy. They should have just shot him up like Tularosa.
Bruce, Bruce, let me ask you. The media is saying it was lone wolf. Law enforcement is saying, quote, lone wolf, that he acted alone. He had no other help, no other support. Do you believe that? Or do you think that that he had help, that there was a wider network that helped him get all the way from Torrance, California, which apparently is just, 15 miles from Los Angeles. So basically from L.A. all the way to Washington and into the Hilton. You think he did this all by himself, or do you think he had accomplices?
Hey, Jeff, he was the teacher of the year. He was such... And did you notice what color he was, Jeff?
Well, CNN, believe it or not, CNN says he's white.
Oh, yeah?
I swear to you. You can't make this up. Apparently he's biracial. He's half black, half white. But, it clearly looks like he's black. I mean, he's got black. Nothing wrong with that, but I'm just saying it's... But no, CNN is insisting that he's white. And no, he was named in December of 2024 the Teacher of the Year at this private tutoring test prep school that he was working at. And so obviously he's Teacher of the Year because he's spewing, a radical left-wing, so-called progressive Marxist talking points. He was a hardcore Democrat. And they coddled him. They coddled him through university. They coddled him apparently had a very nice job. He lived in a very nice middle-class neighborhood. And apparently he was able to load all these guns and weapons onto trains from L.A. to Chicago, Chicago to Washington, brought it into the Washington Hilton Hotel, and nobody spotted him, nobody screened him, nobody checked him. And look, I got to say this. About 3 or 4 days before the White House Correspondents' Dinner, Hakeem Jeffries, the Democrat leader in the House of Representatives, gave a speech where he said, quote, unquote, "It's time for our foot soldiers to rise up," unquote. And everybody took that as a threat of violence. In other words, someone now we got to go after this guy. It's time for our foot soldiers, like the mob. It's time for our guys. If you're listening, wink, wink. Someone's got to take this SOB out. And this guy, Cole Allen, heard it, and he acted on it. And you read his manifesto, and he has no remorse whatsoever. He has remorse for himself. He goes on about, I know what I'm giving up, a really good career and opportunities and money and, whatever. I can enjoy a good, prosperous, upper middle class professional life. So, yeah, I'm going to give up a lot of that by going to prison. But it's worth it to bring down this dictator, to bring down this tyrant. If nobody else will do it, I will. So he's congratulating himself for having the courage to do what many Democrats, all they do is complain about. And he's saying, you complain, I can't stand by anymore. And I'm going to act. And by the way, all you have to do, Bruce, go on Facebook. Go on, by the way, he was always on Blue Sky. That's where all the liberals hang out, on Blue Sky. That's like their version of Twitter or X. And he was all over Blue Sky. And they love him on Blue Sky. Millions of them. They love him. They love him. So, no, for them, he was an avenging angel. That's how they see him. And the only thing they fault him for, like Thomas Crooks, like Ryan Luth, the one who tried to kill Trump in Florida on the golf course, why didn't you get him? And that's my fear now. I don't think you're going to see less assassination attempts. I think now you're going to see more assassination attempts. Okay, let me ask all of you. It is the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Mario's. Mario's Quality Roofing, Siding, and Windows. President Trump wants to have the White House Correspondent Association dinner redone. He wants it to be done again in about 30 days because he doesn't want Cole Allen or these wannabe left-wing assassins to win, to bully, to cancel, to intimidate people like him. And he says, no, they can't be allowed to cancel functions. And so he would like to have what's called a redo, have them do it again. Should they? Should they do the White House Correspondents' Dinner again? A, yes. B, no. Trump, by the way, wants it at the Washington Hilton. In other words, same location, same ballroom, same entertainer. He wants the same cabinet members there. He wants the same journalists there, the same invitees. In other words, we're just going to finish what we started on Saturday night. Should they hold another event in about the next 30 days? A, yes. B, no. You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner, Kuhn as in national ER. You can also vote via X, my handle there, all one word, at the Kuhner Report, at the Kuhner Report, Kuhner. I am honestly completely torn on this one. Half my brain says you don't want the Democrats to win. You don't want these wannabe assassins and terrorists to win. And so they shouldn't be allowed to dictate what we do and what we don't do. And we shouldn't be living in fear of them. So I really understand where Trump is coming from. And the other half of my brain says, are you looking to get killed? You know, if you got a Secret Service that can't properly protect you, and you've got a media and the Democrats that keep whipping people into a frenzy and, you know, manipulating their emotions to hate you and hate you and hate you to the point that they want to murder you and assassinate you, aren't you asking for trouble? And eventually you keep asking for trouble, trouble will find you. And so, you know, I'll tell you this. I think Melania would say, don't do it. Donald, it's not worth it. Don't do it. So anyway, I'm really torn on this one. I'd love to hear from you. Should they do it? Should they not do it? What would you advise the president? 617-266-6868. Dan in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Dan, and welcome.
Thanks for taking the call, Jeff.
My pleasure.
I have never seen anything like this in my life. I'll tell you right now, they have more security in the airport, more hurdles that you have to go through. If to have that place wide open, did you see that man? He sprinted like he was running for the goal line, ran right by most of the security, caught them completely with their pants down, They were reacting instead of being proactive. I mean, this guy's been fired upon. Now this is the third time. You have to blame the media. You have to blame the liberal left. They keep spewing for the last 10 years over and over and over. Dictator, kill Trump, do this, do that. I mean, they've even had a head with blood on it years ago, and they were holding that around. I'm going to tell you right now, this country should be embarrassed of itself for allowing this to happen. There should be some licenses being lost as far as the media is concerned, because at this point, we're 3 situations down. In other words, he got lucky 3 times. How many times can he be lucky? The bottom line to this is we've got a fearless president. This guy's got real, I'm going to say it, balls to stand up and want to do it again, because that's the man that he is. And we've got a shaky situation of security that can't protect him. It just seems to be that way. I think that there should be somebody that's entirely in charge of this. I mean, much like ICE, there should be somebody that has got a primary job of securing that man no matter where he goes. I mean, quite honestly, when you saw that all go down, there was one guy standing in front of the president. All of them else were running around like they had their heads cut off. It didn't look organized to me. It didn't look professional. It didn't look like they were trying to protect the most important person in the country. This has got to end. Licenses need to be lost. Media licenses need to be lost. The press itself should be actually challenged all the time. Why are you saying this? Why are you dividing our country? Why are you pitting family against family? Why are you spawning hatred just as if you were spewing Satan itself? This is the kind of level of hatred that these people are responsible for. Now what happens? Somebody kills him? We get into a civil war because they've manifested this for the last 10 years? It's nuts. Absolutely nuts. This is something that if it's not taken care of, this man's going to be killed. And I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to be happy. I'm 60-some-odd years old, and that just might fire me up enough. And I'm telling you right now, Jeff, you've been absolutely right all morning long with everything that you've said.
Well, Dan, by the way, you're on fire. You're absolutely on fire. Look, I can just only add to what you're saying. When the media, look, I'll read parts of the manifesto, not because I want to give him any credit. It's nothing like that. What I want is I want to read part of it and say, how is this different than anything you hear from CNN every day, or MS Now, or CBS News, or ABC News, or NBC News, or take your pick? It's what he's saying is what they're saying. Now, they're saying he's a rapist. That's why he says Trump's a rapist. They're saying he's a pedophile. That's why he's saying Trump's a pedophile. They keep saying he's a traitor. That's why he said he's a traitor. They say he's a dictator and a tyrant and an oppressor who's getting people murdered and killed. Well, that's why he said what he did, exact same thing in his manifesto. Now, there's a certain point. That's defamation. That's, in other words, most countries in the world, I'm talking, well-established democracies, free societies, the media doesn't have the right to just print anything they want to print. I can't, Dan, for example, not that you would ever do it, but just indulge me. I can't say, Dan, you're a rapist. What? No, hey, Dan, you're a pedophile. What? No, hey, Dan, you know what? You molest kids. What? No, hey, Dan, you're a traitor, buddy. Okay? You're a traitor. What? That's slander. That's defamation. It is. It's libel. And in most places around the world who are these are very free countries, they're like, of course you have freedom of speech, but you can't libel somebody. which, by the way, we do in this country all the time. When did Trump ever rape anybody? He never raped anybody. When did he ever molest a child? He never molested a child. Who did he commit treason against? I could go on and on and on. And the Hitler charge is so freaking absurd, it's sick. Okay, it's sick. By the way, as everybody said, you know, for a fascist dictator, geez, there was a lot of light security at the Washington Hilton. You know, I mean, it's not like there was a stormtrooper every 5 feet and cameras on every corner. I mean, they're so outlandish, outrageous. I mean, ridiculous. So, you know, you don't have the right to print, say, an article saying Jeff Kuhner sleeps with a goat, has untoward relations with a goat. Like, what? No, it's a lie, and you're smearing me in order to destroy me. You should lose your journalistic license. In all honesty, were you surprised at the assassination attempt on Saturday? Were you shocked? I'm just curious. Or have we begun to become almost numb and immune to assassination attempts on President Trump? That's number one. Number two, who do you blame for what took place on Saturday? Was it a lax Secret Service, incompetent, unprofessional Secret Service agents, where obviously sloppy defensive perimeter and protocols were in place, allowing him to, the wannabe assassin, to get a room the night before, even though he already had a shotgun, handgun, knives, that they just did not plan or think this through properly? Is the Secret Service to blame? Or do you blame the climate of hatred and the climate of violence being pushed aggressively by the Democrats, by Hollywood, by the media, which is now producing one wannabe assassin after another? Whether it's Thomas Crooks at Butler, Ryan Luth in Florida, and now, of course, Cole Allen at the Washington Correspondents' Dinner. And let me ask you even a more general question. President Trump really wants the Correspondents' Dinner to happen again. He doesn't want it to end on this note. He says, take a couple of weekends. Let's get a better security plan in place. Everybody get their invitations. And we'll go back with the same entertainer, same guests, everything the same, and do it within a month, hopefully before the end of May, so the people of Cole Allen will know that they will not deter us or disrupt our way of life. Should President Trump do a redo of the White House Correspondents' Dinner, what would you advise him? 617-266-6868 is the number. It is all on the table. Nick in Weymouth. Thanks for holding, Nick, and welcome.
Right on with everything you've been saying. Yeah, let's do a redo. As a matter of fact, let's release the guy and give him another shot, okay? Jeff, as the facts trickle in, and you mentioned most of them today, it is pathetically clear that this was yet another major Secret Service disaster. The shooter registered, as you said, the night before. His entrance pathway, in case anybody noticed, into that expansive room with the very unclear video was clearly not guarded. Give me a break. Either the door should have been locked or there should have been somebody standing there. He ran, as you said, for the last this morning, 45 yards before he was stopped. The Secret Service shooters were pathetic. I'd say 95% unsuccessful. He should, based on what he was doing, he should have been shot dead as soon as we sighted.
A lot of people need some remedial operations type training in situations like this. Heads need to roll. This will never happen. What I would like to see is a blitzkrieg lightning type prosecution of this bum, and let's not keep him in the news like Luigi for 2 years, right? Just prosecute him, and there has to be more charges. What? It's just a simple assault, okay, on a federal officer. I forgot the other what. Apparently, I guess maybe I'm mistaken. What is it? Open carry in Washington D.C.? That's kind of a violation in itself. Unfortunately, the failures of the Secret Service is astonishing. You can't stop the press. You can't do that, but you can improve it. It has been abysmal. Has anybody been paying attention? What do you think, Jeff?
Nick, look, I can't disagree with you. I wish I could, but I can't. This is absolutely disgraceful from the Secret Service. And, the Secret Service used to be held in such high esteem. And you can see it got worse under Obama, DEI, and then it got even worse under Biden, more DEI, and now it's gotten to the point that I believe there are people within the Secret Service that either don't care if President Trump is shot and killed, or are maybe even hoping that he is shot and killed. I mean, you go through all three of the assassination attempts, just very quick. How Thomas Crooks was within a couple 100 yards of the President of the United States with a long gun, who was spotted by people in the crowd saying there's a shooter on the roof. And nothing happened until shots were fired. And we all forget this now. Had Trump not moved his head at the last possible millisecond, I don't mean second, I'm talking millisecond, that bullet would have hit him square in the brain. His brains would be splattered all over the floor, a la John F. Kennedy. The fact that it hit him in the ear was a miracle because Trump moved at the last possible millisecond. So for all I know Trump survived, but what I'm saying is for all intents and purposes, that was a successful assassination. He got in, he breached security, he got in extremely close, boom. And the bullet was going to the brain, to the brain, to the brain, to the brain, and then an act of God saved President Trump. Then you get the guy, shortly afterwards, is in the bushes, and he's got Trump right in his sights. Right in his sights. He's got him, dead to rights. And it wasn't the Secret Service that was the one that saved Trump. I mean, they pulled him out, they whisked him away. But it was a bystander who said, hey, there's somebody in the bushes. Who's that person in the bushes? Again, security was breached. And now this. Now, they did have defensive layers. He did not breach the ballroom, thank the Lord. So in that sense, the security protocol worked. Okay, he didn't breach the ballroom, true. But he got into the Hilton Hotel. And this guy wasn't there for 3 weeks. He got there the night before. You don't think to check the guests who come in the night before of this massive event? Like, hello? And I'm sorry, but he walked in with a shotgun, armed, loaded, a handgun, loaded, knives. He had everything. He's going around himself in the manifesto saying, I can't believe it's this easy. Like there's something, he's looking around like, there's something wrong. It just can't be this easy. Please, if you haven't read the manifesto, read it. He actually says, what if I'm Iranian? We're in the middle of a war. What if I'm not just, this crazy guy from this crazy leftist from California? What if I'm like an Iranian terrorist or a secret agent for the Iranians, and I don't have a shotgun and a handgun, but I've got a dirty bomb or, a homemade explosive or whatever, grenades. Allah. I could have killed the whole cabinet, the whole government, Trump, the vice president, the secretary of state, the secretary of defense, everybody goes down. I mean, this is unforgivable. Like I'm looking, I'm reading this story, and and by the way, you're right. They're charging him with assault on a federal officer, and I think improper use of a gun. Or I'm looking at these charges, and I'm like, where's the terrorism charges? Where's the attempted assassination on the president? Like, do you want him out? Is that what you want? You want him out in 5 years so he can do a book tour? I want you to think objectively. Everybody, please, just stand back. These images were broadcast over the entire world. The president being taken from his seat. The president of the United States. And then being forced to go on the ground. Surrounded by 6, 7, 8 Secret Service agents who are covering him. The vice president of the United States is forced to go on the ground, covered by agents. Cabinet members diving under tables. Guests yelling, screaming, sobbing. Trays falling. Glass shattering. People in fear underneath chairs, underneath tables. This is what the world sees. An administration under siege. A president, a White House under siege. So much so that they can't even have a correspondence dinner without shots being fired and an attempted terrorist attack. It makes us look weak. It makes us look pathetic. And one man. That wasn't an army that attacked. That wasn't some militia group. That was one man. One man. Waitresses yelling. There was one yelling, I don't want to die like this. I'm not in this room. I don't want to die like this. People hysterical, losing their minds. And we're in the middle of a war. And in the end, I'm sorry, it doesn't look good for Trump. I mean, I don't care about optics. I care that he's alive. Again, what's the image that comes out? Like, oh my God. Like the guy is so hated. Think about this. He's so hated by the left. The Washington Hilton is 1.5 miles from the White House. 1.5 miles. Not even 2 miles from the White House. I've been to the Washington Hilton countless times. It's a stone's throw, as they say, from the White House. The President of the United States cannot leave, can't even go less than 2 miles from the White House? Because if he does, he's going to get blown to pieces by a shotgun. And he doesn't have the security to protect him? Because they let the guy into a hotel? I don't know what to say. Really, honestly, after a while, what is there to say? I don't know what else to say. If this was Biden, if this was Obama, if this was Bill Clinton, if a rabid conservative, egged on by conservative talk radio and Fox News, rapist, pedophile, traitor, and something like this happened, heads would be rolling, people's careers would be destroyed, licenses would be revoked. Oh, it would never end. All you get is, yeah, we got to tone down the rhetoric. Yeah, the rhetoric. Yeah, we got to tone. Yeah. For what, 24, 48 hours? And then they're back. And I feel bad for Trump because I'll play you the cuts later. His response was so presidential. He's trying to unify the country. Even then, His instinct was, hey, look, there were Democrats in that room. There were liberals in that room. There were Republicans in that room. There were conservatives in that room. And he comes out and says, maybe we can all work together and let's get some stuff passed for the good of the country? Because, you almost died. I almost died. Like, we're on the same team here. And he's trying to unify the country. And they're already, they have it here. It's Monday morning, and there they are. He's the dictator. There they are. He's the rapist. He's the pedophile. He's the traitor. They don't miss a beat. They took Sunday off, and Monday they're back. And nothing is going to happen to Jimmy Kimmel. She has the expected glow of a widow. That's what he said the night before. She's so looking forward to somebody killing her husband. Even the wife wants him dead. Somebody do the world a favor. Put a bullet in him. And that's exactly what somebody tried to do. And there were no consequences whatsoever. I'm sorry. We have to stare reality in the face. This is unacceptable. Here, look, let me just play. I have to play these cuts. I'm sorry. I have to. Number one, listen now to how calm he is. Just what I find remarkable. Remarkable. By the way, my prediction is poll numbers are going to go way up. Way up. Who cares? He almost goes killed. That's all that matters, is that he's safe, his family's safe, nobody got killed. That's all that matters. But I'm telling you, in the wake of this, you know what the country is starting to say? This is a man of steel. That's what this guy is. You talk about balls of stone. So, this is now maybe half an hour, 40 minutes or so. So they tried to kill him with almost like a kamikaze style attack. I mean, they arrested Cole Allen, but he's charging and firing shotguns, like, shooting a shotgun off. Boom, 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 as he's charging a Secret Service security checkpoint. So he basically wanted to shoot his way in and then unleash a bloodbath. So they have him. He's on the ground, pretty much naked, and he's lying there, face down. Trump now holds a press conference. And he's like, well, this is not my first rodeo. Roll cut one, Mike.
So as you know, this is not the first time in the past couple of years that our republic has been attacked by a would-be assassin who sought to kill. In Butler, Pennsylvania, less than 2 years ago, you all know that story. And in Palm Beach, Florida, a few months after that, we came close. We really had, again, we had some great work done by law enforcement.
So he's basically saying, honestly, he's saying, I'm getting used to it. Like, basically, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid, and Secret Service came through again. Law enforcement came through again. I'm very grateful. And then he says this. Okay, now, he's not even saying I blame the media or I blame the Democrats, which he could have. He would have every right to have said that because he would have been right. You make the most outrageous lies up about me. You demonize me. You libel me. You defame me. You smear me in the most horrible ways possible. Lie after lie after lie. And it's gonna get me killed. No, he doesn't say this. He says the opposite. Listen. Roll cut 1A, Mike.
But in light of this evening's events, I ask that all Americans recommit with their hearts in resolving our difference peacefully. We have to resolve our differences. I will say, you had Republicans, Democrats, independents, conservatives, liberals, and progressives. Those words are interchangeable, perhaps, but maybe they're not. But yet everybody in that room, big crowd, record-setting crowd. There was a record-setting group of people. And there was a tremendous amount of love and coming together. I watched, and I was very, very impressed.
So he's basically saying, look, hey, we're all Americans. We all could have died tonight. So let's put our differences aside and let's try to, do some good for the country. So extremely presidential. It showed his character. It showed his integrity. It showed his patriotism. It showed his fundamental decency as a human being. Now, two more cuts, because I think they're very, very revealing. He's then asked, well, are you concerned about political violence? And listen now to what Trump says. Roll cut 2, Mike.
Are you concerned about political violence? This could be politically motivated.
All violence. I'm concerned about everything. Look, but I can't be so concerned that you can't function. No, I'm here. It's a dangerous profession. You know, I tell the story, race car drivers, I think it's very dangerous. So if you take 1% and then take about 10% of 1%, just to break it down very easily, they die. So much less than 1%, 10% of 1%. I think bull riding is very dangerous. If you take about the same, 10% of 1%, much less than 1%. But if you take presidents, it's 5.8%. And about 8% are shot at.
So he's saying presidents have been shot at. Some presidents have been assassinated. He then says this. Roll cut 2B, Mike.
I mean, there's been so much political violence, not just aimed at yourself, but at other members of Congress, state house speakers, you name it. Is that just the cost of doing business to do politics in America anymore?
Yeah, well,
what does that say about our country?
We're not the only country. You look at this great violence with all countries. I was talking to somebody from another country today, and they have numerous assassinations of political figures all over the world.
Okay. Now the media is trying to spin that this is just the cost of doing business. Since when in the United States of America? This is not India. This is not Pakistan. Yes, there are other countries where, people get shot at, leaders get shot at, assassinated.
This episode sponsored by We Feed Raw. Have you ever actually looked at the label on your dog's food? Most dog food labels are a long list of things that don't look like food. Powders, starches, additives used to hold ultra-processed kibble together. At We Feed Raw, the label looks very different. High-quality meat, nutrient-rich organs, complete and balanced nutrition formulated by PhD nutrition experts. No fillers, no artificial preservatives, just real ingredients that support your dog's whole body health. That's why many pet parents see real changes after switching to We Feed Raw's fresh meals. If you want to feed your dog one of the healthiest diets possible, We Feed Raw makes it simple. Right now, new customers can get 40% off their starter box plus free shipping. Visit We Feed Raw at WeFeedRaw.com to get started today.
Rich in Weston. Thanks for holding, Rich, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. Sorry I missed you before. Yeah, it just goes to show you people that are educated aren't necessarily intelligent. This is, they pretty much made the bed for this, paved the road for these things to happen. They're going after the children. They're indoctrinating them in schools. And then you have the news media and anti-social media, because that's what it is. It's not social media. It's anti-social media. And they bombard them with messages of hate. And when I see these clowns on TV like Hakeem Jeffries and others, the very ones that are spewing the hate, calling them Nazi, etc., and then coming back on after the incident and saying, we need to tone things down. It's the same old, and that's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So until something seriously changes, it's going to continue to happen, and one of these times they're going to get lucky. There's a thing called the Kruger-Dunning effect. You've probably heard of it, I'm sure. And it's when people that are smart in one area think that they're smart in all areas, and that's an example of this here with this clown that tried, to shoot up the place.
Well, I have to say this, Rich. He strikes me, this wannabe assassin, the friendly federal assassin, as he calls himself, as just a typical loyal Democrat. Honestly, that's what he is. Now, did he have a high IQ when it comes, say, to engineering or computer science? Probably. He went to Caltech. From everything that I read, it's a very difficult school to get into. It only has a 3% acceptance rate. So 97% of people who apply do not get accepted. He got a degree in mechanical engineering, and then he got a master's in computer science. And people who went with him to school, his friends or classmates, said that he was quiet, reserved, but they go, he was a nice guy. They go, really? They go, look, they go, we're not saying this to be insulting. We're a bunch of geeks and nerds. That's their words. So we're nerdy, we're geeky, we're into formulas and computers and tech and that sort of thing. We're not the most social people in the world, but generally high IQ, very good grades. He seemed to have a very promising career in front of him. He was teaching at a prep school, making, decent money. He was a leftist. He was indoctrinating the kids. It was a private tutoring school, and you can also raise your SAT scores. They gave him Teacher of the Year because he was woke, and, he was doing the whole transgender, DEI, the whole indoctrination bit. So he was a typical Democrat voter. He gave to Kamala Harris. He was on Blue Sky, which is their big, social media platform where all the lefties go. He attended a No Kings rally. He was a typical Democrat. When you read his manifesto, it's what you just said. Hakeem Jeffries could have said it. Rachel Maddow could have said it. Anderson Cooper could have said it. Chuck Schumer could have said it. I mean, this is, an editorial in the New York Times. I mean, so he didn't say anything that they don't say. What I find inexcusable is that when they say Trump is a rapist, they should be sued, because that's a lie. When they say Trump is a pedophile, I guess over the Epstein files, I think, that's a lie. They should be sued. When they say he's a traitor, again, I don't know what, for Russia collusion, who knows what, that's a lie. They should be sued. But instead, they go on these shows, like you said, you mentioned Hakeem Jeffries, and they go, he's a rapist, he's a pedophile, he's a dictator, he's Hitler, he's a traitor, he's blah, 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 a threat to democracy, and they just let him go on and on and on. And after a while, to these people, it's self-evident. It's just like, well, yeah, of course he's a dictator. Well, of course he's going to get us all killed. Well, yeah, of course he's a rapist. Well, of course he diddles kids. Well, of course. So somebody's got to take him out. In other words, Rich, I'm going to tell you what I told Grace over the weekend when the news broke. There's nothing wrong with this guy. I'm telling you, there's nothing wrong with him. What he did is simply the natural, logical culmination of everything that the Democrats and the media have been spewing about Trump. If you believe what they're saying, then his actions are very normal and natural and logical. Now, I know it's garbage. You know it's garbage. We know it's false, it's slanderous, it's defamation. Okay, it's they're vilifying the guy. But half the country believes this stuff. And he acted on everything the Democrats and the media have been saying. And that's why it's so easy to predict they're going to turn this guy into a hero. Again, the reason why they love Luigi Mangione, he took the guy out. He killed that healthcare CEO.
This episode sponsored by We Feed Raw. Have you ever actually looked at the label on your dog's food? Most dog food labels are a long list of things that don't look like food. Powders, starches, additives used to hold ultra-processed kibble together. At We Feed Raw, the label looks very different. High-quality meat, nutrient-rich organs, complete and balanced nutrition formulated by PhD nutrition experts. No fillers, no artificial preservatives, just real ingredients that support your dog's whole body health. That's why many pet parents see real changes after switching to We Feed Raw's fresh meals. If you want to feed your dog one of the healthiest diets possible, We Feed Raw makes it simple. Right now, new customers can get 40% off their starter box plus free shipping. Visit We Feed Raw at WeFeedRaw.com to get started today.
You can also text the Kuhner Man, 70470, 70470. Many of you are making the point, and I completely agree with you, that look at the way the media behaved after the shooting incident. So he charges, Cole Allen charges this security checkpoint. He's just blasting away now. He ends up shooting a law enforcement officer right in the chest. Luckily, the person was wearing a bulletproof vest. Apparently even had a phone, which also blocked the bullet a little bit. And so apparently he's going to be fine. The person is not seriously injured. And then they finally grab him, put him down on the ground. You see him basically naked. He's face down, and now he's in custody. My first question is, why was he not shot dead? I have to ask. He's going in guns blazing, and you boom, ba-boom, 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 ba-boom. How come there weren't return shots and you take him out? I have to ask. That's number one. But number two, as everybody now goes underneath the table, and, glasses are breaking, trays are falling, you have Secret Service agents now standing on tables, they're grabbing the president off stage, they're taking the vice president off stage, cabinet members like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. are being whisked away, people are yelling, screaming, there's pandemonium everywhere. Then about half an hour, 40 minutes later, where it's announced they will not continue with the dinner, please go home. You actually see members of the press corps grabbing bottles of wine. Bottles of wine and sticking it in their purses or putting it underneath their arms, they're stealing, they're pilfering the wine. I mean, I thought, are they just going to grab the bread rolls as well and stick it in their pocket? Really? So this is from 603. Jeff, I just want to throw in an observation on the correspondence dinner. After the event was shut down and people were shuffling out of the hall, did you see the video showing members of the press corps stealing unopened bottles of wine and champagne off the dinner tables? You just had a foiled assassination attempt. And these scumbags are literally pilfering bottles of booze off the tables. I thought that was very telling of the character of so many in the room. Well, let me ask all of you. You go to a beautiful gala, a ballroom, you're dressed in a tuxedo, it's a black tie event, or in a beautiful gown. And while you're there, the president is there, the vice president, it's the who's who of the administration, business leaders, media people, Hollywood celebrities, and all of a sudden, boom, 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 there's an attempted assassination. And you're diving underneath the table with your loved one. And Secret Service agents and police and National Guard are running around, guns are being drawn everywhere, people are in sheer panic. Now it's about 20 minutes to half an hour later. Isn't your first thought, call me crazy, thank the Lord I'm alive? Thank the Lord it looks like nobody here in the ballroom was killed? It looks, we're hearing, sporadically, but we're hearing, it looks like the shooter was captured alive, and it seems nobody else was killed? Wouldn't that be your normal human reaction? Or would your reaction be, take, grab, take, smash and grab? Hey, look at that bottle of Don Sauvignon. Grab that. The Beaujolais. Grab that. Ooh, look at that champagne. Grab that, baby. You know what I mean? And run away with all these bottles of champagne. Come on, let's go through the back door. You can't make this up. Ay. Now, if you look at the manifesto, He clearly states he's out to kill Trump. But this is the dangerous part. Okay, obviously that's bad enough. But he wants to kill leading members of the cabinet and leading members of the administration. So it's no longer enough to just take out Trump. No. He wants to take out the entire administration and government. This was an act of left-wing domestic terrorism. And President Obama, the day later, has the nerve to issue a statement where he says, we don't know the political motive of the shooter. Are you kidding me? All we know about him is the motive, practically. We know a few other bits of information. But the one thing we know is the motive. And notice now how the media so quickly, it's not right-wing violence, white supremacy. Oh, they're so fast. No. Now is this just the price of doing business today? It's just violence. It's just overall, it's just out of control. It's just out of control on the left, on the right. It's just, it's not one group, really. Who killed Charlie Kirk? 3 assassination attempts on President Trump. 3. I've never heard of this. 3. Reagan, there was 1. On some, there's none. But 3 assassination attempts? 3? No. Don't tell me this is a, quote, political violence problem. This is a problem from the Democratic Party and the radical left. And it's becoming now a disease. They are infecting our society with their glorification of violence and their hatred for conservatives and MAGA. Am I wrong? 617-266-6868 is the number. I don't want to ask this question, but I need to ask it. Will there be another attempted assassination on Trump's life? Or do you think now the left will stop? I believe there will be. But that's me. I want to hear from you. Morris in Boston. Thanks for holding, Morris, and welcome.
Morning, Jeff. Perfect timing. Just finished taking an ABC and wiping my CBS.
Yo, Jeff.
Go ahead, Morris. The robot voice came in. Morris, hang on. You don't sound like a human. Let's see if we can reestablish a proper connection so you sound like a normal human being. Morris, are you there? Morris? Mike, do we have him? All right. Let's go to someone else. Oh, we got him now? Okay. Morris.
Hey, Jeff.
Yes. You sound normal. Go ahead, Morris.
Jeff, I am back to talk to you. So, my wife didn't put my batteries in this morning before I left for work. Yeah, Jeff, it's funny. You watch social media, and there's this girl, I don't know what her name is, but she goes to, liberal protests and events, and she starts talking about things that Hillary Clinton might have said or Barack Obama might have said about, whether it's going to war or things that should be done about crime or immigration. But they think she's saying that Trump said these things. And then when she tells them, well, this is actually what, Barack Obama said, or this is what Hillary Clinton said, they lose their minds. I mean, just apoplectic, losing their minds. He never said that, but they're so quick to believe that Donald Trump said things, right? So you look at everything that is going on right now, right? I mean, to me, I think Obama, and I don't know enough about the Smith-Mundt Act to know whether that has anything to do with the media being able to say whatever they want. I think it's more of a bias type issue that controls. But, you look at Russia collusion. It was made up. You look at Charlottesville, what we're learning right now about the SPLC or whatever that group is, right? I mean, these people are sick. They're manufacturing things to make somebody look bad. And I said to my wife the other day, I said, that's the equivalent. Think of some guy out there who might have a crush on you and wants to get me out of the picture. And he just sticks a love note in our mailbox that's addressed to me with some fictitious woman's name attached to it. That's no different than what the Democrats are doing to Donald Trump and to the Republican Party. They just make things up. They make things up.
You are on a roll.
This episode sponsored by We Feed Raw. Have you ever actually looked at the label on your dog's food? Most dog food labels are a long list of things that don't look like food. Powders, starches, additives used to hold ultra-processed kibble together. At We Feed Raw, the label looks very different. High-quality meat, nutrient-rich organs, complete and balanced nutrition formulated by PhD nutrition experts. No fillers, no artificial preservatives, just real ingredients that support your dog's whole body health. That's why many pet parents see real changes after switching to We Feed Raw's fresh meals. If you want to feed your dog one of the healthiest diets possible, We Feed Raw makes it simple. Right now, new customers can get 40% off their starter box plus free shipping. Visit We Feed Raw at WeFeedRaw.com to get started today.
Okay, let's go right back to Morris in Boston. Morris, you were making an absolutely phenomenal point, saying, as you mentioned to your wife, that's like somebody trying to break us up, and they write a false note saying, claiming that a woman is writing me a love letter, and all of a sudden I'm having an affair, and I haven't done anything. I don't know this woman. This is all made up. And that's literally what the media has been doing to Trump, starting with Russia collusion, but you can go on and on and on. Morris, please pick up where you left off.
So that being the case, Jeff, I mean, do any of these people who believe the lies, and I don't think any of them believe them, I think most of them, what I've learned about liberals is most of them are very narcissistic individuals who refuse to admit they're wrong when they are wrong. They're just too stubborn to admit it or whatever it may be, but they're never going to own being wrong. So they double down or they move on to the next story or lie that they've been told that obviously isn't true. So, we raise our kids to do the right thing, right? Always do the right thing even when no one's looking. They don't do anything right when nobody's looking, even when people are looking. They're doing horrible things. So I don't understand how liberals support these tactics. Would they want their children behaving this way and, making things up? It's also almost the equivalent of like mean girls in high school, right? Who, here comes the new girl. She's pretty. She's a threat. Okay, let's destroy her. Let's do everything we can to destroy her. I've seen it happen. So, you look at these people and Barack Obama, I'm telling you, Jeff, I was a Democrat until 2008 when he came in, and I saw that incident that happened at Harvard where he had the beer summit, and he portrayed that police officer to be a racist for stopping that professor from climbing in the window of his house because he didn't know it was the professor's house. Okay, he was doing his job. But that's where I said, okay, this guy's doing exactly what I thought he was going to do. Then he got rid of the Smith-Mundt Act. Then he made that whole speech about if you spread enough sewage, people are going to start to believe it. There's more to it than just that, but spread enough lies, spread enough raw sewage, eventually people are going to start believing it. Nancy Pelosi doubled down and said it as well. And then here they go and they do it. So it's really frustrating for a guy like myself that, I work 60 hours a week, paying a ton in taxes constantly. And to see these people brainwashed the way they are, and what finally hit me was this SPLC thing the other day. When that came out, I knew all along that Charlottesville was a setup. I don't know if I'm some sort of street smart wizard, but I just say, how do people not see that? These guys, every time you turn around, Joe Biden, the veins are bulging out of their necks. That's what made me run. They came out of the woods with torches. And, and it was every speech he made. He brought up Charlottesville. And right there I'm going, okay, they did Charlottesville just like they did Russia collusion, just like, no different than the lies they made up about COVID. They destroyed the country with COVID purposely to take Trump down and destroy the economy. Every single thing they do is a lie. And what gets me is, why are they doing it? I know it's not just because they don't like him. I think it's because he's about to unveil all the corruption, all the lies, and all the shadiness. And these are people that will do whatever they can to prevent themselves from getting exposed, because I think what they're going to get exposed of is going to be earth-shattering things. But unfortunately, what the media has done, they have convinced people that, no, it's all made up. Trump's making it up. It's all made up. Don't believe it. And I don't think any of that's going to go anywhere. I know Obama supposedly is getting dragged in and questioned for Russia collusion and some other stuff. But at some point, I'm at the point now where I'm just ready to give up and throw in the towel. I'll always vote, but I'm not surprised by anything anymore. This thing that happened over the weekend, I was asleep. I woke up in the morning. My wife goes, "Oh, somebody tried to assassinate Trump." I'm like, this is exactly what I said. Shocking. It's wild, Jeff. And it's not going to stop unless they start prosecuting ABC, CBS, MSNBC, CNN, all of them, the newspapers, all of them. You watch these rallies, and there are people holding signs that says Trump has sex with babies. That's not, that's the worst crime you could ever accuse anybody of. There's no worse crime than that. The guy clearly does not have sex with babies, or is he a pedophile or anything, but they just throw as much spaghetti against the wall as they can to see what sticks. That's all I have. Well,
look, man, you're on fire. Morris, I got to tell you, you hit the nail right on the head. Look, Morris, it would be akin to this. Imagine your local paper in the town that you live in comes out with a front page expose. Let me just give you a fake last name, Smith. Okay, Morris Smith. Morris Smith rapes children, and you're like, what? And this is what the journalists do. This is their modus operandi. Sources say. Well, what source? Can you give me a name? Because I'll sue the pants off of them. Well, on anonymity. Okay, well, what? Is it a source, what, close to Morris? Somebody who knows Morris? No, just a source. Well, what does that mean, sources say? That means you're making it up. So they could literally write something that says Morris is a child molester who goes around molesting children. And they go, last week it was a 4-year-old, but the week before that it was a 6-year-old. Was it your kid? It could be your kid. And before you know it, you've lost your job. You've lost your reputation. Your family's like, I don't know you, Morris. You're a monster. Your wife says, I can't believe I've been coddling and sleeping beside a monster. You lose absolutely everything. And it's all been a giant, massive lie. And there is nothing you can do about it. There's nothing. That's the power that the media has. That, by the way, in this country, and only in this country, they don't have it anywhere else. Because if in Britain, or I don't care, take any Switzerland, whatever, Canada, take New Zealand, Australia, take your pick. If they say Morris Smith is a child molester and it's false, they're sued millions and millions of dollars and they have to issue a correction. And so because they're going to be sued millions and millions of dollars, basically they're going to go bankrupt, and unless you have actual proof that he's, doing something inappropriate with children, you don't print it, you don't say it, you don't allege it, you don't speak it, you say nothing. But since they restored the Smith-Mundt Act, since Obama, rescinded the Smith-Mundt Act, my bad, since he repealed it, It's open season. And they came up with the greatest smear of all, that President Trump was an agent of Russia, a traitor, who was colluding with Vladimir Putin, something that Obama made up, that his own CIA made up, that his own FBI made up, and that the media helped him to make up and to peddle and to smear. They knew it was a lie. They went with it anyway. Has anybody paid the price? Has anybody been held accountable? Nobody. Nobody. So you're absolutely right, Morris. That's the problem. And I'm telling you, no truer words have ever been spoken. The fake news, it's not even media. To call it media is not, it's a misnomer. It's propaganda. It's pro-Democrat propaganda, as the Russians would say. It's not media. These people aren't journalists. They're just mouthpieces for the Democratic Party. That's all. They're really what they are. They're Democratic activists with a named journalist or a titled journalist above them. These people aren't serious reporters or journalists. And so I think Trump has to go on the offense. I think there's no question. And that's why, to me, I wouldn't be, it's up to him, but I wouldn't be holding a White House Correspondents' Dinner. I'd be roasting him. I'd be shaming him. I'd be suing him every single day and restore the Smith-Mundt Act. In other words, you got to take the gloves off. Morris, thank you very, very much for that call. Really good call. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, speaking of the lying, crooked, corrupt, quote-unquote media. Again, it's Democrat propaganda. I don't want to read the whole thing. I don't want to give him that kind of importance. But I'm going to read part of the manifesto, Cole Allen's manifesto. Why? Because I want to ask all of you, how is this different from any of the local news that you watch, or the Boston Globe, or anything Maura Healey says, or Michelle Wu says, or Elizabeth Warren, or Ed Markey, or Hakeem Jeffries, or CNN, or MS Now, or Chuck Schumer, or I could run down the Kamala Harris, or Joe Biden, or, in other words, these are nothing more than ordinary run-of-the-mill Democrat talking points. So he starts off with, he's apologizing to his family. By the way, this was sent 10 minutes before he went on his rampage. So he basically emailed it to them. And he has a brother in Connecticut who also got it. And so he's saying, look, I apologize to my parents, to my family, to my friends, because, you know, he had a promising life in front of him. He was a Caltech graduate, had an MA in computer science. And so he says, look, I abused your trust. And now I'm going to be America's most wanted. So he's basically, goes on, it's paragraph after paragraph, apologizing to everybody. And he says, I don't expect forgiveness for what I'm about to do. But he said, why am I doing any of this? And this is what he says. I am a citizen of the United States of America. What my representatives do reflects on me. And I am no longer willing, I'm quoting now verbatim, to permit a pedophile, rapist, and traitor to coat my hands with his crimes. Now, Trump is routinely called a pedophile. As I mentioned, Cole Allen has gone to No Kings rallies. You go to any No King march or No Kings rallies, this is routine. Pedophile, rapist, traitor. I mean, this is stuff. They say this in Congress every day. They say this in the media every day. He then goes on to say or explain his rules of engagement. And so he says, who am I targeting and why? Now, there's an odd bit. He says he's targeting administration officials, not including Mr. Patel, because FBI Director Kash Patel was there. But he says him, I'm not going to kill. But he says the others, I will. So he says, I'm going to target everybody else in the administration, everybody that's there. Now, why not Kash Patel? People are asking, this is weird. This is bizarre. Some theory is Kash Patel is the only minority of the cabinet members that was there. And Cole Allen is half white, half black. And I think he categorizes himself as an African American or as a black man. So was this racism? I don't know. Okay, that's part of the speculation. So he says administration officials, not including Mr. Patel, they are targets, prioritized from highest ranking to lowest. So I'm here to get the entire administration. He then says the Secret Service, he goes, I'm only going to get them. They're targets only if necessary. Hotel security, they're not targets if at all possible, unless they start to shoot at me. And he says Capitol Police, same thing. National Guard, same thing. Hotel employees, not targets at all. Guests, not targets at all. So, he's saying, I'm here to kill the administration. Everybody in the administration. Because they're complicit in Trump's crimes. Except for Kash Patel. He then says, however, that he blames all of the guests in the room. Why does he blame the guests in the room? Because he says they're there to listen to a speech by an oppressive tyrant. Or as he put it, on the basis that most people chose to attend a speech by a pedophile, rapist, and traitor, and are thus complicit. So he says, I don't want to kill you, but you went there. It's like listening to a speech by Hitler. If you're going to go there and listen to Hitler, you're enabling Hitler. And by enabling Hitler, I'm sorry, you've made yourself complicit. So if I kill you, it's really your fault and not my fault. Now, in the manifesto, he actually writes something called rebuttals to objections. So he's actually saying, well, people are going to object, and I'm going to rebut these objections. So he goes, objection number 1. As a Christian, you should turn the other cheek. Now listen to this. Turning the other cheek is for when you yourself are oppressed. Now, this is all from the media. I'm not the person raped in a detention camp. I'm not the fisherman executed without trial. I'm not a school kid blown up or a child starved or a teenage girl abused by the many criminals in this administration. Turning the other cheek when, quote unquote, someone else is oppressed is not Christian behavior. It is complicity in the oppressor's crimes. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Who's being raped in a detention camp? But that was the allegation the Democrats made about illegals. That illegal aliens were being detained in these camps and that women and children, again, no evidence, were being raped. That came from the media and from the Democrats. He then says, I'm not the fisherman executed without trial. I think he means the boats. You know, those boats that were coming in from Venezuela and other places loaded with drugs. And the media were going on about, well, they could be fishermen. They could be. So I think it's that. I'm not a school kid blown up. I think he means the school that was hit on the first day of the Iran war, or a child starved. I think he means Gaza, I think, or a teenage girl abused by the many criminals in this administration. I think on this one he means the Epstein files. And that the reason why Trump wouldn't release all of the Epstein files was because, I don't know, J.D. Vance was banging teenage girls, Rubio was into teenage girls, Hegseth was into teenage girls. Like, in other words, somehow he's protecting his own people who are raping and abusing underage girls. It's all media garbage and lies. And then he says, well, what do you mean it's not convenient now to do this? He goes, this is the best chance I'll ever have to stop him. And then he writes about himself, as a half-black, half-white person, you shouldn't be the one doing this. Why does the fact that you're half-black, half-white? Anyway, I don't see anyone else picking up the slack. And so he then, that's when he goes off on this rant about the Secret Service being incredibly incompetent. And he goes on and said, by the way, he refers to himself as quote, Cold Force, friendly federal assassin Allen. And then at the end of his manifesto, he says, P.S., okay, now that all the sappy stuff is done, what the hell is the Secret Service doing? Sorry, gonna rant a bit here and drop the formal tone. Like, I expected security cameras at every bend, bugged hotel rooms, armed agents every 10 feet, metal detectors out the wazoo. What I got, who knows, maybe they're pranking me, is nothing. No damn security. Not in transport. Not in the hotel. Not in the event. Like, the one thing that I immediately noticed walking into the hotel is the sense of arrogance. I walk in with multiple weapons, and not a single person there considers the possibility that I could be a threat. He then goes on to say, the security at the event is all outside, focused on protesters and current arrivals. Because apparently no one thought about what happens if someone checks in the day before. Like, this level of incompetence is insane. And I very sincerely hope it's corrected by the time this country gets actually competent leadership again. He goes on, listen to this. Like, if I was an Iranian agent instead of an American citizen, I could have brought a damn Meducci in here and no one would have noticed, I can't say this word on the air, crap or excrement or whatever. Actually insane. And then he goes on to say he feels horrible for what he's about to do. And then he ends with, can't really recommend it to kids. So he says, stay in school, kids. By the way, a Meducci is a Browning M250 caliber heavy machine gun.
This episode sponsored by We Feed Raw. Have you ever actually looked at the label on your dog's food? Most dog food labels are a long list of things that don't look like food. Powders, starches, additives used to hold ultra-processed kibble together. At We Feed Raw, the label looks very different. High-quality meat, nutrient-rich organs, complete and balanced nutrition formulated by PhD nutrition experts. No fillers, no artificial preservatives, just real ingredients that support your dog's whole body health. That's why many pet parents see real changes after switching to We Feed Raw's fresh meals. If you want to feed your dog one of the healthiest diets possible, We Feed Raw makes it simple. Right now, new customers can get 40% off their starter box plus free shipping. Visit We Feed Raw at WeFeedRaw.com to get started today.
Okay, so I've given you the most important parts of the manifesto. Now, 2 super quick points, and I want to go back to the phone lines. Number 1, and this is no exaggeration for dramatic effect, every person at the event said that the security for the White House Correspondents' Dinner was more lax, was much lower and weaker than if you attended a major concert or a sporting event. You go to a concert by one of these pop stars. You go to a Taylor Swift concert. The security, they say, was infinitely stricter and better and more rigorous. Or you go to a New England Patriots football game. And any game, a regular season game. And the security was infinitely better and stricter than what they saw at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And you're going to tell me that there aren't people in the Secret Service that want to sink this president? Because I don't believe they're that I'm sorry, I don't believe they're that incompetent. I don't believe it. Now, number two, you read the manifesto. I challenge anyone. How is this any different from what is regularly said by Democrat leaders, Hollywood celebrities, professors in academia, or the media, all of the big organs, the big media outlets, every single day? Just nothing. Nothing. Except he took their words, their lies, their, propaganda, and he said, I'm going to do something about it. That's it. That's the only difference. So you tell me, how are the Democrats and the media not to blame? And this is, to me, the checkmate argument. Okay, John F. Kennedy was assassinated. Yes. Reagan, there was an assassination attempt. Yes. It happens. It happens. William McKinley was assassinated. Yes. Theodore Roosevelt, there was an assassination attempt. It happens. But 3 times in less than 2 years? One man? 3 times? In less than 2 years? No. This is not business as usual. This is not, it's a dangerous job. No. The left wants Trump dead. And they're not going to stop until they get him. Agree, disagree. Mark in Milton. Thanks for holding, Mark, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff.
Hi, Mark.
This thing this weekend has really solidified my mind in that there is a viper, or should I say nest of vipers, within the Secret Service. They have just painted a bright picture as to how to bring down the United States government. They could have had, like, the Iranians know, well, there's going to be a thing in some hotel. We'll put somebody in, not just the Iranians, any of our enemies, Chinese, Russians. We'll have somebody check in as a business person, 2 weeks in advance. And slowly, day by day, they could stockpile enough stuff for a bomb that could take the whole thing down. And it would just be unseen, obviously until it exploded. And I just want to go back to the situation at the UN building where the escalator stopped with Melania and Trump.
Oh, I remember
fully
that.
Exposed. And my point here is I believe that was yet another attempt at an assassination. But security was tight. I believe that there was supposed to be a shooter on the floor below, but he got hung up somehow, either outside the building in traffic, decided that he couldn't make it through security. Something happened that prevented a shooter from being there. And nothing but done by the Secret Service. I think it was just happenstance that there wasn't a shooter there. I fully believe, because an escalator doesn't just stop, and it certainly doesn't just stop with the President of the United States just happening to be there at that time that it stops. I mean, you got more shot at winning the lottery than that happening, and no Secret Service in front of them.
Look, Stephen, I got to be careful how I say this, okay? Because when people tell me stuff on background, I honor my commitments as a journalist. I can tell you this with absolute certainty. There have been other occasions, the one that you mentioned, but there have been other occasions where people very close to the president have been livid. I mean, I'm talking fuming mad, like they explode, and I don't blame them. How many times they believe the president's security has been compromised, where they literally say something to the effect, are they trying to get him killed? That this is happening again and again and again. And, you know, okay, once maybe incompetence, 2 times maybe stupidity. Okay, you need to hear this. This is the exchange you need to hear. So, this is after the assassination attempt. Trump decides to sit down with 60 Minutes' Norah O'Donnell. And right away, without missing a beat, she has to bring up not just the manifesto, but what I read to you, the central charge in the manifesto, that Cole Allen had no choice but to shoot Trump dead because he's a, quote, pedophile, rapist, and traitor. Roll cut 7, Mike.
The so-called manifesto is a stunning thing to read, Mr. President. He appears to reference a motive in it. He writes this, quote, administration officials, they are targets. And he also wrote this, I'm no longer willing to permit a pedophile, rapist, and traitor to coat my hands with his crimes. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I was waiting for you to read that because I knew you would, because you're horrible people. Horrible people. Yeah, he did write that. I'm not a rapist. I didn't rape anybody.
Do you think he was referring to you?
Excuse me. I'm not a pedophile. You read that crap from some sick person.
You think he was referring to you? Is that what you think? What a disgusting liar. Of course he's referring to Trump. What are you, stupid? Like, really? What, do you got nothing between your ears? Of course it was referring to Trump. Dummy. And she knows it. But she just wanted to get the charge out there. You see? Do you sleep with pigs? Because he says you sleep with pigs. So do you sleep with pigs? So defame him by asking a question. Well, you know, he says you're a pedophile and a rapist and a traitor. Do you care to comment? Oh, you think it's about you? Really? Trump was livid, and I don't blame him. She's slandering him to his freaking face. Trump continues. Roll cut 7A. A mic.
I got associated with all stuff that has nothing to do with me. I was totally exonerated. Your friends on the other side of the plate are the ones that were involved with, let's say, Epstein or other things. But I said to myself, you know, I'll do this interview and they'll probably, I read the manifesto, you know, he's a sick person, but you should be ashamed of yourself reading that because I'm not any of those things.
Mr. President,
and I
these
was
are
never,
the gunman's words.
Excuse me. You shouldn't be reading that on 60 Minutes. You're a disgrace. But go ahead. Let's finish the interview.
The other thing that he wrote in
the
other thing in the manifesto that I think is,
I mean, he's right, but I would have walked out. I mean, he's gracious. He's being presidential. I get it, but I just would have walked out. I would have said, you see, that's why you're garbage fake news. That's why you have no ratings. That's why you have no credibility. That's why nobody believes you. I mean, sorry, is this Hakeem Jeffries dressed in pantsuits? Is this Schumer in pantsuits, or am I dealing with an actual reporter? Because if this was done to Obama, you guys wouldn't be reading from the manifesto and saying, oh, look at these accusations. What do you say, Mr. President? The slander, the libels, the defamation, the demonization, the vilification will not stop with those in the drive-by media, as Rush called them. You know, the drive-bys. They go, they shoot. You know, these gangsters. And they just keep on moving. And that's what you're seeing right now. More journalistic assassination. Stephanie in Delaware. Thanks for holding, Stephanie, and welcome.
Oh, I just wanted to make a brief observation how the media constantly plays the race card. If Cole Allen, being that he's the shooter, he is white, had he been a victim of a crime or say, another incident where he was shot by a police officer because of a crime, he would have been a black victim.
You are 1,000% correct. CNN, and they're showing his picture on CNN. You can see, you know, he's black. I mean, he's half black, half white, but he's clearly black. You know, he's a black man. Nothing wrong with that, but that's what he is. And they're calling him white. So you see, when he's the shooter or the wannabe shooter, he's a white man. But you're completely right. If he was the victim, then he'd be a black man. It's just, isn't it disgusting how they roll, Stephanie?
Right, immediately. Yes.
And that's always to divide us. Divide. Because that's the only way the Democrats can win, is by playing the race card. And the media always enables them to play the race card. So even when they have an attempted assassination, the third one, of the President of the United States, and Stephanie, let's all be honest with each other. God forbid, had something happened to Trump on Saturday night, the country would have exploded. I mean, really, the consequences are unimaginable what would have happened. It may have literally blown the country apart. And they still play their games. Always with their race card. That's why, again, it's up to him. I'm not going to tell him what to do. I wouldn't give these traitors, these smear merchants in the media the time of day. I wouldn't talk to them. I wouldn't go to the White House Correspondents' Dinner. I wouldn't joke with them. I wouldn't give them the legitimacy or credibility that they crave, because to me, they have one. They have none. To me, they're nothing more than bottom feeders. Seriously, every single one of them. Stephanie, outstanding call. Very perceptive. Russ in Boston. Thanks for holding, Russ, and welcome.
Good morning, Kuhner country.
Russ, buddy.
About political savior President Trump. And Jeff, I'm glad you had a great vacation. Rev up that bulldozer and let's plow ahead between now and the midterms.
Russ, were you shocked by the attempted assassination? And were you shocked at who the would-be assassin was or is?
Yeah. Jeff, the only thing that surprised me, with all security, how close he did get to that auditorium, whatever the hell you want to call it. Anyways. But, Jeff, let's face reality. The Democratic Party leaders will do and say anything, hoping someone will kill President Trump. They hope the death of President Trump will Make America Great movement again. That's what they hope for. And remember, the enemy within knows no one can replace what President Trump brings to the table. His ability to use the economic power of our great nation and the military power for the survival of this great republic, no one is capable of doing it the way he does it. It's virtually impossible. I've never seen a leader like him in my lifetime, for sure. If we had an honest media, President Trump would have an 80% approval rating. And for the last 60 years, I have longed for a leader like President Trump, and the left want to kill him. That's what they want. They want him dead, all right? And I'll tell you, Jeff, I really fear the midterms. I hope that
too many Americans don't get brainwashed with the lies and deceit that comes out of that rotten Democratic Party.
Russ, I even hate to ask it, but I have to ask it in the wake of what happened on Saturday. Do you fear that the Democrats will try to kill him again?
Jeff, there's no question about it, okay? He stands in the way. He's their roadblock, okay? I'll tell you, Jeff, President Trump is 1 in a billion. I'm telling you, he's not even 1 in a million or 1 in 350 million to live in this great country. I'll tell you, he's just an unbelievable leader, okay? Jeff, I have to say this. Everything he does, I appreciate what he does. I really do. I'll tell you, you know how much I love this man, and I'll say it as you would say it in a non-sexual way. I'll tell you, I love this man. I'm telling you, I've longed for him. I've said it before, but I'll say it again. I've waited for him for 60 years, Jeff.
Russ, leaders like him, if we're lucky, come around every 50 years. The only one that to me is similar to Trump is Reagan. And I know a lot of people liked FDR. I don't like FDR. The other one was Theodore Roosevelt. In other words, you have these super great presidents, world historical figures. And if you're lucky, you get about 2 a century, give or take. And I think you're right. The left understands in some ways Trump is irreplaceable. He's a force of nature. And that's why they need and they want to take him out. Because they think if they can take him out, they can take the movement out. And I don't think they understand how much we love him, how much we support him. Okay, it's time for Talk Back Tit for Tat. Your voices, your reactions, your heart. The true heartbeat of Kuhner Country. We asked, you answered. And now we're sharing the best of this week's messages. Roll it, Mike.
Sandy, Mrs. Shack, thank you for your good work, Sandy. You're the bomb. Thank you.
We are burgeoning on the creation of something that has the potential to outpace our intelligence. And that is what has us all so afraid.
Get a better fill-in host. My God.
This computer base is in jeopardy from AI.
The election of Pope Leo was fraudulent. He's so connected to Obama, and he's very supportive of the Muslims.
Jeff, sure do miss you, buddy. Hope you're back soon, buddy.
Okay, my friends, the best way to listen to the Kuhner Report is on the iHeartRadio app, and now we're launching, as you just heard, Kuhner's Talkback Tit for Tat. So just look for the red microphone in the upper right corner of the app, leave a message for the Kuhner Man, or for Sandy, as you just heard, or for Mike. Agree, disagree, respond, react, anything goes. Leave your talkbacks anytime during the week. And every Monday, like today in the final segment, we'll play some of the best ones on the air. So download the iHeart app, hit that red mic, and join Kuhner's Talkback Tit for Tat. CJ in Boston. Thanks for holding, CJ, and welcome.
Hey, good morning, Jeff. Welcome back. And boy, I'd talk back, and I'd be afraid that the head of the FCC would probably pull the plug. But anyway, on this, just take a look at Butler, Pennsylvania. You got a shooter on the roof. Authorities were notified. He had got several shots off before he was killed. That definite breach of security here. As we look at this latest incident here, we can see the metal detector. We can see the agent with his side not looking at the metal detector when he rushes by him. Even at the TSA, when you go through a metal detector, there is someone on the other side standing there. But the fact of the matter is that if there was any security worthy of protecting the Trump the president, it was not there. He should have never made it past the fact that the door. Never mind, get through the metal detector and bullrush everybody to get into that auditorium. And even through his own admission, he's laughing. He's laughing at the security of the president. How did he get into the hotel room with all those weapons? Reminds you of the incident in Las Vegas where the guy walked in with a slew of weapons, got on top of that building, and I think it killed something like 150 people, or 150 people were wounded. There is definitely something wrong. There is something going on within the administration. They want him dead. I mentioned it a long time ago. They're going to continue with this because they could not buy him. When he walked down that escalator, they knew he was a man who could not be bought. And they need to get rid of the president every which way possible. But the only bright side of this is, you know, the president got over 77 million votes. You would think the Republicans would be the ones trying to assassinate Democratic politicians, not the other way around. I always thought the majority ruled. But, Jeff, you have to look at this to the Newsoms and the Mandanis and the Woos and all these blue liberals that have threatened our own security within our country. Look at it this way. These Democrats that are going to jail, this guy, the first thing they're going to hand him after they give him his clothes is a handbook on how to become the official soap picker-upper in the shower room. Because what's going to happen to these people once they get into jail, they're going to become someone's girlfriend. And you can blame the Democratic Party for that. But we need to get on to it really, really serious here. Let me mention the Iranian War. Under the War Powers Act of 1973, the president has a limited amount of time before he needs to go through Congress. I think there's about a month left. So he had to lock and load on Iran and do what he needs to do, because their strategy now, and they know this, is to hold out at least another month so the president would have to go through Congress to continue this war. Otherwise, they may not allow him to continue this war. And just a message for Hegseth, if he gets anything to the president, a military man, you never divulge, and I say never divulge what you're going to do to your enemy before you do it. You don't tell them that you're going to be bombing and targeting electric grids. You don't tell them you're going to be bombing bridges, because what you're doing is you're doing the same thing that Joe Biden did with those Navy SEALs that were later murdered when he identified them. When you let your enemy know where you're going to be, and at the time you're going to be there, they're going to be waiting for you. And what you're basically doing is exactly what Joe Biden did. You are threatening your own service members when you tell people and your enemy exactly what you're going to do. And as for the mainstream media, Jeff, you know where they're coming from. Their job is one, and one only, and that is to destroy MAGA. That is to destroy Donald Trump. But I have news for them. I'm confident that all people need to do during the midterm elections is look back on what Biden did to this country and how he destroyed this country, along with Barack Obama.
I agree. And look, I think, CJ, we have to do something even more. I think we have to tell the media and tell the Democrats and tell the radical left that if they try to assassinate the president, that there's going to be a reckoning.